Hi, I'm Steven, the calculator guy, and today we're going to talk about Cosmoverse Day 2. If you don't know, I'm at Cosmoverse in Medellin, Colombia, and Day 2 was all about liquid staking, some money market stuff, and then MEV. Whether or not MEV was supposed to be the focus ended up being one of the most interesting topics discussed today. So I am not going to go into all the details because I think that would bore most of you. It would be super long and I would get a lot of things totally incorrect. So, what I'm going to try to do is give you my impressions and sort of like how my opinion of the Cosmos ecosystem is developing from day zero to now day two of like nonstop conversations, panels, and watching speeches for almost 72 hours now. Okay, let's just get into it. So I already know and already love liquid staking. I'm wearing my Stride and Quicksilver attire because they're both liquid stakers in the Cosmos ecosystem. Also, shout out to Persistence, P Stake, and Lido, who are also going to be sort of in this ecosystem in this competitive arena. But there are some basic differences between all of these. I'm not going to get into all the differences. For example, like most of them are going to have their own chain or already have their own chain, like Quicksilver and Stride and Persistence. And then Lido is going to be built on top of Neutron. Now, each of those have different benefits and detriments, and maybe I'll do a video specifically on liquid staking where I can talk through my understanding of the benefits and detriments of all the different models. Each one of these is also taking a different approach. So I guess I can speak to some of them. I can't speak to other ones, but like Stride is going to just focus on liquid staking and sort of being, and then just maximally focusing on, you know, just finding the best assets to liquid stake and then doing their liquid staking there really well. And then letting other protocols like Osmosis or maybe even Mars or Kujira use their assets how they see fit, whether it be for leverage, collateral, or LPs, right? Whereas other protocols, maybe like Quicksilver or another example might be Persistence, uh, perhaps. I'm trying to remember if that's the one. But these ones are building on top of their own chain applications that will effectively do the same thing, which is like leverage up or give utility to their liquid staked assets. Now, I think all of them are probably going to have liquidity on Osmosis, just because that's where the majority of liquidity is. That's where the majority of like transactions and interactions with liquidity and swaps sort of happens. So you're probably going to see like ST atom atom pair, Q atom atom pair, STK atom atom pair, and whatever Lido atom atom is going to be. And each one of those is probably going to have some sort of incentives for some amount of time to compete with the other liquid stakers in the space. Now they talked about liquidity fragmentation and potentially having like balancer pools of all of liquid staked assets, and that would be really cool if that happens. But I'm getting a bit speculative, and I don't want to jump into speculation that much. But what I will say is that the vibe of today was in this is like from the founders and from the head honchos of the space was effectively that they're very excited for liquid staking. They're very excited for the liquid staking applications in DeFi, in DEXs, in leveraging, in minting stablecoins against them. And that's the sort of excitement that I didn't necessarily see in other ecosystems. Like you don't really see S Atom or S AVAX being used as collateral in many places on the AVAX chain. You don't really see SFTMX being used as collateral or for leveraging in the Phantom ecosystem. Maybe you can use it as collateral on a few different swaps, but you're not using it for like against perpetuals or to mint stable coins. And like that's not really a massive push or narrative in the Cosmos ecosystem. Everything is about like giving utility to these liquid staked assets, and I found that really interesting as someone who's super into liquid staked assets. So that was cool. Even though I'm not like talking about all the differences between the liquid staked protocols, for one of the reasons is because I was given some alpha that I can't share. I don't want to accidentally say things that I'm not supposed to, but when I can, I will. But other reasons because I want to keep this sort of simple. And then MEV. So there was a talk um, between Skip, who I'm really excited about, and also Mekatech, who's also really exciting. But like it was a very contentious panel, and it was so neat because while it was contentious, there was clearly a ton of respect for the two very different ways of thinking and different ways of doing MEV. And also like necessary collaboration between the two because they're both sort of thought leaders in the space and there's a lot of development that needs to be done. So it was clear that like they even said out loud, like we are working with their team and they're working with us on these specifics in this development and this, that, and the other thing, while also having philosophically opposed opinions. And so if you guys don't know, MEV is a maximum extractable value. Effectively, this describes, well, usually bots or behaviors that extract value from retail behavior. So let's say retail likes to swap, right? You know, they go to any sort of given swap. I'll use Cosmos ones for the sake of this video, but like, let's say you go to Osmosis and for whatever reason you're setting the slippage to 2%. What might happen is it is one of the MEV attacks called a sandwich attack, which says, okay, if you're willing to pay 2% more for this asset, 2% slippage, what the MEV bot will do is it'll see that transaction, it will front run it, it'll buy right here, and then the transactor will buy a 2% slippage, push the price up 2%, and then that MEV sandwich attack will then sell up here. So the retail swapper pays that full slippage, and then the MEV bot sort of bought here and sold here and made a profit, right? So it extracted value from a retail behavior. That's what MEV bots sort of do. And there's a bunch of different attack vectors and way in which MEV bots work, but sandwich attacks are probably the most common, or at least most talked about. So the differences in like opinion kind of boiled down to like Skip was trying to push the narratives of we want to work directly with chains where a lot of MEV might be happening. Osmosis was the canonical example here. And instead of like being malicious or bad actors and just trying to extract value from the people already using Osmosis, what we want to be doing is we'll still run all these MEV bots on Osmosis, but when we extract that value, because someone's going to be extracting the value, right? Because MEV is profitable and it's incentivized, and people will always go where the incentives are. Instead of extracting that value for ourselves, we'll work with Osmosis, we will extract that value, and we'll have mechanisms, maybe governance mechanisms, through which we then redistribute that value back into the Osmosis chain. Mechatech, at least from my understanding, was a little bit more like libertarian and saying like we just want to optimize MEV behaviors. We want to be on the cutting edge and make sure that MEV is hyper competitive and that like we are extracting the maximum value from various different types of behaviors, and that there are ways in which this can be beneficial to either investors or users. I'm not an MEV guy. It was difficult for me to understand, but it felt as if the philosophical values where Mechatech was super into just like competitive, sort of capitalistic, libertarian sort of values on like having the best sort of MEV available and like optimizing and saying that if it's going to be done anyway, then we should be the ones doing it. And then Skip seemed to be taking a more philosophical approach and saying like, well, we want to be working with these chains directly in a way that maybe blocks external MEV and facilitates MEV in a way that it's beneficial for the community. Which one's going to end up happening and how they're going to win and what the narratives are going to be moving forward, I don't know. I just know it was a really interesting and heated conversation, while also incredibly respectful, which I thought was amazing. Like the way in which the conversation, you guys should go and watch it. It's the MEV panel. I'm sure the video is up in the ether somewhere. Or I should say in the cosmos somewhere. So that was pretty much that. Also, huge shout out to the Hubble team. Not even in the Cosmos ecosystem, but they were there, and I knew them because they're in our Discord, and they're just a bunch of great guys. So they were there. We met up, and they also helped me understand MEV and the different attack vectors and how those things work, at least at a very very base level. And we talked for a long time, and so like thank you, you guys were great, and it was just nice to sit down and talk to people in a more calm setting than like the booths, which are very sort of high speed and sometimes can be a little bit anxiety, or it can make me a little anxious because I want to understand as much as I can from you, and I know there are people also waiting to talk to you. Another big shout out to Mara, who is like I've given him a bunch of titles. He is effectively a very, very smart human being who is here with me because he understands Cosmos way better than I do. I've called him my lead researcher. I've called him an analyst. He's also a moderator, lead moderator in the DeFi dojo, and like he's just an all around smart, good guy, and I'm so glad that he's here. And he was doing a lot of translation for me on some of the higher level stuff. So thank you, Mara, for all that you do. It's really genuinely appreciated. So man, there are so many other protocols I want to talk about. One of the things that was so interesting that I can't remember the name of them. But I have their shirt. I might go and get it. I'm going to do some more videos about specific protocols that I think are either groundbreaking or not even protocols. A lot of it's going to be tech, but I know you guys come to me for protocols and yield opportunities and things like that. So what I will say as a little bit of maybe some interesting opportunities is that if you understand funding rates and you know that when funding rates are positive, you get paid to short, and you know that right now you can get paid to be long on Atom through liquid staking, you may want to look into things potentially related to getting positive funding rates, maybe on the Atom Cosmos ecosystem, which does exist somewhere, while also being long on Atom in other places. That's all I'll tell you. If you want to learn more, come to the DeFi Dojo. We have the greatest and smartest and best community in all of DeFi, and I stand by that. Absolutely. And yeah, that's it, guys. There's probably a lot more that I missed out on. But oh, composable. It's either compose. I think it's called composable. Almost sure it's called composable or composability. I'm pretty sure it's composable. But what they're doing with relayers and getting native assets across totally different ecosystems, like not even in the IBC, I think is very very cool. I may not fully understand it, but I understand enough to know how cool it is, or at least to know that it is cool. And so like that's sort of tech infrastructure that just really excites me. Okay, that's all I'll say for now. Thank you guys so much for watching. What is my opinion on the Cosmos ecosystem on day 2? Well, it's a great question. I am very excited for the liquid staking narratives, right? I was excited before this. I think in day 0, I even said that. Maybe I'm a little bit more excited because I see how much buy into those narratives that the founders have that I was not aware of. So I thought, maybe liquid staking is something that's going to be disincentivized because they don't want everyone to be participating in validation in some sort of some way or another. But that doesn't seem to be the case at all. And it also seems to be the case that there's a ton of incentive to also allow people who are liquid staking to have ownership over their votes on governance, as well as like delegation to which validators they want to be working with. I thought that was really cool. So one of the things that I've noticed is that there is a lot of good faith behavior in this ecosystem that you might not see in ecosystems that are more VC driven or more centralized in terms of thought leader or thought leaders, like where you have a specific CEO or figurehead, and it's like sort of, top of the mountain kind of, and everyone has to listen to them. This is a lot different. There's a lot of contention, a lot of different views, and all of those views appear to be respected to some degree, and it's pretty cool. So I'm not a Adam Maxi, right? I try not to be a Maxi, but I am starting to see and understand a lot of narrative that I didn't understand before, as well as get more excited about things that I was already excited about. So that was pretty much it. And I got to learn about MEV, which is cool, and it seems like the Cosmos ecosystem may be doing what they can to make MEV symbiotic rather than parasitic. Will they? Who knows? Not I. But we'll see. So thank you guys so much for watching. Join the DeFi Dojo. You can do it for free if you want and and hang out in the free section. You can get a free 1-month trial for the premium section, which is really, really a ton of value. And then not pay if you don't like it. You can just leave. Or you can stay and hang out with us. Thank you all for watching and have a wonderful rest of your day.